Gonna get into this bottom part here. Just getting into some numbers and frequencies. Today is 9/11. So I was in the military during that time. This now changed to the 10th mountain. And I miss going to Iraq, but a lot of my friends went there. But I actually had a chance to go by the towers after they fell. When we were on leave, National Guard was doing the security thing. So anyway, today was my friend's birthday, 9/11. And we used to watch a lot of documentaries.
Harmonic at 43.2 hertz, correlating with the 7 chakras.
This is one we watched.
The greatest discovery of our Earth is its consciousness.
I don't like that part.
A visible attribute of consciousness is an energetic field that governs the shaping of organisms.
This was a while ago.
Is a scientific term to explain this very shaping of tissues, organs, and entire organisms.
So the part I'm getting into is the
Yahweh, Krishna, nature, the field, and divinity. The entire universe is in fact a single living, conscious organism with complete awareness of itself. The reason why it may seem difficult to comprehend this is because our understanding is typically limited by our language. When we hear the term conscious organism, we tend to anthropomorphize its definition. By giving it human qualities, we mistakenly look past what an organism truly is in the first place. The definition of an organism is any living...
Going live, so we might speed up and slow down here, but I can explain where I'm going with this.
Reproduction, growth and development, and maintenance of homeostasis as a stable whole. Our universe does all of these things. The consciousness of our universe is responsible for the form and purpose that all matter assumes. The Earth's resonant frequencies are a result of its form.
So
these frequencies are responsible for biological rhythms, such as menstrual and circadian cycles, as well as behavioral and emotional patterns.
So
the frequencies are then picked up by the flora and fauna, which are biological instruments that respond to the wave patterns.
That also has to do with breathing.
The wave patterns resonate in the cranial structure of our head and converge in the center of our brain, which is where we find the pineal gland.
Where we get into communication with words.
The pineal gland is believed in many cultures to be the spiritual third eye responsible for intuition. Descartes called it the seat of the soul where mind and body meet. Each individual cell in our body receives an electromagnetic impulse from our central nervous system. They receive the very same impulse that was disseminated to every biological instrument from the earth. An explanation of our conscious universe has been attempted by religion, science, and philosophy. The neglect of biological nature from any organism causes illness.
I hate the spinning ball part of it. Everything else is on.
Tongues. They are all symptoms, not of a biblical God.
So the part I want to show is on creation, and I'm going to dive in.
The greatest and only threat to ourselves is a loss of self, the death of our divinity. As we barrel through history with oceans of information, yet barely a drop of wisdom, we have to understand how we lost ourselves.
Organic here, this is how we're doing it, editing as we go.
Sacred texts and ancient scriptures left by our ancestors. We find
mythos, in mythos we also see like rhythm too.
We'll
get into that one too.
And similar characters. These correlations show up in myths from cultures that supposedly had no contact with one another, due to distance in geography and time. The common thread we find that connects all of mythology has its roots in the stars. One of the most revealing accounts is the battle of the gods in heaven and the ensuing flood.
So in the ensuing flood, we're getting into this. We're getting into this, how this is all these stories to do with energy. And Marduk, we're also doing with that M. So we're dealing with waves.
Apsu was the Sumero-Akkadian god of the abyss.
Absu, we're doing with that A and the B, so it gets into the abracadabra. But we're also doing with that 1-2, we're doing with that movement. With 2-1, we're dealing with tone.
The most recent version of Mercury, however,
tones
is the
of
archangel Michael
movement.
in the Bible, who defeated Lucifer and sent him to the abyss of the earth, or hell. This story is steeped in astrological significance in the Bible and in many other ancient scriptures.
I just want to get to the
This leads to an
creation
event in
part
history that is
here.
recorded by many researchers regarding the cosmic upheaval and historic deluge. William Communist Beaumont states, the flood immortalizes the collision of a fallen planet, later termed Satan, actually a cometary body with our Earth. Consider what this reveals. He postulates that a planet, later termed Satan, fell to the Earth, creating the flood we see recorded in the Bible and other myths. Lucifer, or Tiamat, was a planet known to ancient cultures as the
Satan
glistening
like
one.
sat in
The
this
dragon
from
appeared like salt waters.
weaving, just like a
The
flood,
light from the
just
sun
like
illuminated
dealing
this
with
planet's water, which gave it a
waves.
glow that rivaled the sun's own light, which is
You
where we
see
hear about Lucifer rivaling the Lord.
symbiotics.
The Lord in this case being the sun, which sustains and gives warmth to the earth. The planet Tiamat, or Lucifer, was destroyed by a cataclysmic event that hurled the watery planet to the abyss of the earth. In the book of Enoch, it reveals, and behold, a star fell from heaven, and when it fell to
we
earth,
also
I
see
saw how the earth was
soon.
swallowed up in a great abyss. The myth of the Ute Indian states, the sun was shivered into 1,000 fragments, which fell to earth, causing a general conflagration. Then, Tawats fled before the destruction he had wrought. And as he fled,
Tawats, we see watts.
body, hands, and arms,
Ta,
until
we
at
see
last,
two.
swollen with heat, the eyes of the
Two,
god
we
burst
see
and he
watt,
burst
like
forth in a flame which spread over the
W-O-T.
earth, extinguishing the fire. This myth resembles
So
the translation
two
of
is
the English by
movement,
Stephen
dealing
Bailey
with
in her book,
energy,
Influence
watts of
Mesopotamia,
energy.
which explains that Tiamat's eyes became the source of the Tigris and Euphrates
This
rivers.
shit gets really deep, so
As
this
written in
is
the book
all
of Revelations,
long
there was a
introduction,
war in
but
heaven. Michael and
this
his
is
angels fought
really
against the
good.
dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. The great dragon was hurled down.
So we're dealing
That
with the
ancient serpent called the devil, or
dragons.
Satan,
I showed
leads the whole
Nike,
world astray.
that's also
He was
play a
hurled to the
Mike,
earth.
a
The
Michael.
Roman mythology of Ovid gives the story of Phaeton, which happens to be another name given to the watery planet Lucifer, or Tiamat. This story reveals that Phaeton was a child of the sun, and wished to become the sun for a day. Phaeton attempted this feat, and eventually, Jove, who was also known as Marduk, destroyed Phaeton, sending him crashing to the earth in flames. We notice here is that of a saltwater planet. The great dragon, Lucifer, Tiamat, or Phaeton, was defeated.
So like it was spoken, tell it on the mountain, dealing with like outlet, intelligence, we're doing a lot of stuff. Let my people go. So many things going on there. We give them an ET, like ET is an alien and things like that. We're doing a higher and lower vibrations here. She gets really deep. So when we deal with we're dealing with electricity, we also see that with the eagle, but in eagle we also see leak, and there was a movie Leagues Under the Sea. They say major league. I don't like the part where he gets into the cosmos, but when he gets into the formation of life, that's when. So when we get into Marduk, let's also get into Ram. It's interesting that Duke is Deuce also. So. Damn. I gotta stop that.
In ancient times, probably the most important field of research was the study of the heavens. Galactic bodies and their movement through the sky were known to be symbolic of the inner faculties within human consciousness. Within all organisms, outdated science has only explained the physical world measured by our five senses. Only in esoteric religions, mysticism, and quantum fields of science are we to find any attempt at explaining where thoughts and emotions fit into the sense-perceptible world. We also understand now that humanity is a community of cells within the organism of the Earth. The Earth, therefore, is a higher organism that shapes our form and function. This higher organism and all other planetary bodies are governed by consciousness, just as we individual humans are. Therefore, the Newtonian belief that galactic bodies are nothing more than lifeless forms floating in space is tantamount to claiming that we humans are nothing more than a composite of elements.
So here we go.
We know that this is untrue because we feel, we think, and furthermore we see the result of our consciousness creating what we call life.
Here we go, right here.
Plato wrote, "This world is indeed a
I don't,
being,
not that part.
endowed with a soul and intelligence, a single visible
This was an
entity
old
containing all other living
documentary.
entities, which by their nature are all related. Furthermore, the cosmos is a single living creature which contains all living creatures within it." And in an article out of the Sufi journal, the author writes, "The world is a living spiritual being. This was understood by the ancient philosophers and the alchemists who referred to the spiritual essence of the world as the anima mundi, the soul of the world."
Damn, that's an AM
Scriptures,
too.
we
You know,
hear
the
proclaim that
AM,
angels guide the
Anima
inner soulful
Mundi.
actions of people. or that the
Ooh,
gods wield influence over man.
deciphering as we go.
Most ancient spiritual and scientific teachings held the belief that the hierarchies of the
The
gods,
anima
angels,
mundi.
archangels, archai,
Whoa.
all the way down to the cherubim and the seraphim, are the hierarchies within the human psyche.
Has to do with waking
In
up
this
too.
way, we must understand that when the whole of ancient myths and sacred scriptures speak of spiritual influence from a higher being, they were speaking of archetypal forces that are inherent within us, not an influence from an external source. This is where we begin to see
Right
the
there,
relevance of
boom, you saw
astrology as an ancient
Anubis,
form of science
what I
that
did the cover
resurfaced in the
with.
19th and
But there's
20th
another
centuries
one
under the name
with
of
the arms
psychology.
out.
Friedrich Nietzsche even stated, as long as you still experience the stars as something above you, you still lack a viewpoint of knowledge. This is astropsychology, and maps the inner faculties of the psyche. In pre-Christian times,
So that gets me into the asterisk too. The asterisk is the X with the one through it looking like the human body, which is also the K with a reflection of the K in both directions, which getting into the two towers. This is really deep because C is also CAE, like the ace, the high card, the 11, or the low card, but also CAE, you can say like K. And she gets really deep, like a wall, like a wall, like a dam, like a dam. A dam is for a wall, like when you look at the letter A.
Our freedom of choice. The choice to follow our concepts and ideals, or our natural impulses. The choice to sustain nature. Cancer begins with a group of cells within a community.
Damn, so I'm not gonna keep streaming this one, but I want to show the part where he goes, the cells, because this gets into electricity and frequency, how I see it.
Cancer upon our earth is the domination of our false ego and our divorce from nature. Collectively, among every
So
human,
getting to the end with the nature too, as well as the lightning.
and our divorce from
So
nature.
we get into that in mythology with the
Collectively,
lightning.
among every human, vanity leads to segregation and competition. Competition leads to fear and greed. Greed leads to deceit and immorality. And immorality is the breeding ground for illness, waging war on our earth. Every act of hatred and destructiveness in our world begins with self-hate.
So also 9/11 too. We get 9/11 is the 20 split. 20 is the top of the dartboard, but not only is it the 20 split, it's a one off because you got the 9 and 11. So it's one split, like just 2001, it's like one off, right? So like also like the seesaw where you got that one off, which also gets into that rib, like the Adam's rib, which also has to do like the N and the M with the wave. Shit's really deep.
In nature, all that we perceive with our five senses
Which is almost
a
like
result of two
a
fundamental
puppeteering.
principles.
And we always see the five, like the five symbol of Saturn hanging down with the ripples, but like we have five senses, with five senses, fires used for creation.
We see this duality in ancient myths and philosophies, yet only those philosophies and scriptures that were perverted and raped of the original meaning gave the impression that one
So
polarity
he
was
stops
good,
at like
while the other was
Tiamat,
evil.
Marduk, but things go
The
further
original
back.
sages, adepts, and shamans taught that both are necessary, and one would not exist without the other. These two important principles come together to form all things in the universe. This is Kymatica. Even language, logos, the communication of
So
any and
Kai,
all
we're
things
also
in nature
dealing with like
depends upon this principle.
also key.
Pete Peterson, in his works Cymatics, The Science of the Future, stated that nature shows examples of Kymatica in everything. This phenomenon is found to be one of the prime forces that moves biological evolution along its
If you
path.
say that like a C,
Dan
you
Winter
could also see
reproduced an experiment
seam,
to
like
prove
how
that
it
the ancient languages
seems.
of Hebrew and Sanskrit, when spoken, create a vibratory frequency that moved matter into sacred geometrical patterns. Upon further investigation, Hebrew, Sanskrit, Aramaic, Arabic,
So this
and
gets
other
into the
elder
flame.
dialects
So
have
this is
older
what I
roots in the
talk
parent
about when
language
I
of
get
Gaelic
into the
and quite possibly
frequency.
in
Saw this a
Aetolian
long
roots.
time ago, like my boy.
In Swami Murugesu's The Science of Mantra, he claimed that when a person chanted specific words in Sanskrit while filming a burning candle, the intensity as well as the color of the flame would change due to the frequency that the word would emit.
So getting
This
into
same
color.
science has been shown to lower and raise blood pressure. And in his own words, certain sounds can affect their circulation and nervous system. Whatever change such vibrations cause extends to the mind of a person and also to the surrounding atmosphere.
Gonna get into
causing
that
more
ace
coolness.
because we're here in
All this can be known by
here
study
in
and shown by
Spanish.
practice.
A key.
This rediscovered knowledge of the science of sound shows that sound is something more than mere vibratory signals.
It makes you think of
Not only does sound
acquiesce,
interact with life,
because
but
you
it
know
sustains and
to make
develops it.
people acquiesce,
It
you
acts as a
create
conduit of
fear.
conscious intent between people, societies, and entire
Get
civilizations.
that globe spinning out
Yet the
there.
psychic illness we endure due to the domination of
So
our
I
false
actually
ego
called him out
is
on that one.
reflected in the
So
collective.
we're always
Our
building.
psychological schism has shut us off from communicating correctly with our inner self, which
But
is
the
exactly how
part where
cancer
it
cells in the
shows
body operate.
the human body, this is so deep. This is so deep. So today's Pisces, Aries, so it's I feel like a fish out of water. I was kind of falling asleep last
The
night.
alphanumeric translation from Hebrew to English
Pisces
shows a
full
complete
moon, and
reversal
now
of the
I'm
two
like, oh,
languages, giving the cymatic effect unnatural results.
cymatic,
Dr. Leonard Horowitz stated in his
schematica.
work on DNA.
So we're also dealing with
1/3 of the
chime.
sensory
So
motor
we're dealing with
cortex of the brain
sound.
is devoted to the tongue, oral cavity, the lips, and speech. In other words, oral frequency emissions, spoken or sung, exert powerful control over life, vibrating genes that influence total well-being and even evolution of the species. The degradation of language in this case is shown to affect biology. If something as basic and important as language
So we can see language as programs because it's programmed with
what else
chants
might we be missing?
and say like mer
If an
chants.
aspect of your life
It's,
that
we're
dictates the limits of
we're
your
dealing with
freedom,
that rapid eye movement, the
government
mer,
and law
but
enforcement,
then we're dealing with
insurance and pharmaceutical companies,
chanting.
taxes, building permits,
So these are like
driver's licenses, and more.
programs.
There are hundreds, if not thousands,
And
of stipulations, regulations, and boundaries on our freedom.
Noah
And out of the
Webster
ones that were just mentioned,
is the
how
one
many can you
who
research to
formed
find out whether they apply to you or
the
not?
most recent
Let's look at the
language
forms
that
of
we
law that
speak,
currently
which is
acquiesce to.
this current English.
Common misconception among people is that any rule or regulation that governs them falls under one
Okay, I
category.
must have missed the part on creation because creation was the part where basically it shows that the human embryo mimics every form of life, starting with a reptile, right? So it starts with a fish. So I can pause it at that. So this gets into syncing our reality in the matrix. And we're dealing with the matrix, we're dealing with the I saw it, you could see game, like this game we play. Hang on. This shit gets deep. So we see the realm, we see what we're in, like a realm, like a dimension. So we could see real, also like layer, and we could also see it like right and left with the EA in the center, which is also A. A could be pronounced AE, which is also said like an A. We're also dealing with kind of like that sway. So this has to do with electricity. And so I said that we see eagles. So eagle, we have league and eagle, right? So leagues under the sea, something that it's a movie, right? But we're also dealing with current. So this shit gets really deep because when we go into leagues, we also see legs. We see legs, right? So what makes us different from plants and things, I will stick to, we got hands that are made for like seriously for working with the earth and planting seeds. And like, you know, apes have sharper teeth than us that are made that don't eat other animals. It's definitely something that was manipulated onto, you know, having to do with energy with people like livestock, where we're given social security numbers, and this is a way to see it to, you know, human resources. So I also see it as an advantage to keep people alive too and complacent too, rather than the whole getting wiped out stuff. But you know, I see all angles here. But this gets into the 9/11, and you know, the realm, like our world changed after 9/11 because we got into the Patriot Act. And when we say pat, you're also getting into tap, and we're getting into patterns too, patterns. And it's interesting, the only 5-star general is General Patton. Oh my God. And when you want to fucking make something yours, you have to get a patent, like a patent. Holy shit. So the reason I get into this the pattern I see with a 5-star, and this gets into the cards, because when we say star, that has to do with like spark. We have to do start, spark, you know. And it's like from the dark, we create darkness, the towers fell, there's all this symbology there. Hang on my markers. And so when we look at Kala, Kala is movement, right? So Kala also has to do like Kabbalah, right? So we're doing some kind of movement, energy. Mushin is a word that means like motion, having to do with motion, movement. So the shit gets really deep. So we're so about deep, get into light and weight. So your ankles, we talk about Ankh. We see these Ankhs, these symbols surrounding like a chain. People like people want energy, right? So what centers like wings, because you're dealing with two forces. You're dealing with like a push and pull. You're dealing with a pulse, because life is only with a pulse. You don't have a pulse, you're dead. So it's interesting too. We're dealing with a red and blue too. When you look at that, playing with that, but dealing with the pulse. So getting down to this, when you see realm, we also see Merle, like Merl, like Merlin. Shit's fucking nasty. So then if we look at the IN, shit, that's crazy. It's like dealing like the M, but it's like split with that writ, right? So it's almost like Merlin. Fucking crazy. That is nuts. It's another way of looking at that, because we're looking at the sword from the stone and shit. This gets really fucking deep, this shit. Fuck. So we got... You might want to make this a little lower here. I'm going to get into these cards too. So the reason I'm showing the spade, when you look at the ace of spade, we know that the queen just died. So we also see the queen, like the mother goddess, is on the ace. It's kind of hidden, but it's only on the spade. So when we deal with spade, we're dealing with a shovel too. We're also dealing with levels. So we're dealing with levels when we're dealing with a shovel. And see how you got the flip, you got the up and down. And that's also like a heart with a crown. I mean, there's a lot of symbology there too. Different ways of looking at that one. So we're dealing with level. And also when you look at the mother goddess, 13 letters, there's no 13th level. It's like invisible. So it's also kind of see like how high card and low card, it's up and down. So we also look at the ace. So star, we know stars kind of flicker and stuff. Yeah, shit's so deep. So when we say like composites, like when we say depth perception, deep, we say composites, which is like pausing. Calm is also Mach, like the speed of sound. So this shit's really deep. So when we say like an anthem, like, you know, an anthem is something you move to. It's also like ANT, like you could see that like antenna, but we could also see that as the T sideways as X, like acronyms, like action. And attention, like ATN, acronym for attention and action, which is like thought and action. So that has to do like antenna, and it also has to do with hem. Like the hem is like reaping what you sow. So many different ways of looking at that shit. But we also see the ladder and we see the M. Like we see the ladder and we see the M. So if we look at like Adam, add is also ascending and descending, and then we see M. The M is ascending and descending. When we look at the M, ascending and descending. This shit is really fucking deep. Because now, yeah, Spade DC. Oh man, that's really deep too. I got that one too in my notes on a different one dealing with the devil on Christ, but you can kind of see like the spade too, with the arrow there. That's really deep. You got me thinking about the AD too. Damn. And 80 makes me think of 808 too, but it also we get the damn, that's really deep. I gotta get into that. So we look at ambulance. It's AM pulling, the ATN, the action, attention, something like that I was writing down. But we look at Abraham, like Ham is 13, right? HAM is 13. So by Abra, so if you look at like abracadabra, we could look at this, like that's a 1, 2, 9, 1, 1, 2, 9, 1. It's just the different ways of looking at this too. Like if you look at the A's, it's like 2 towers, and then we see the 11 in between it because 2 and 9 equals 11. Different ways of looking at that. So we see the 2 towers with 11 in between it on both sides. It's really deep. And I don't know, you see CD as obviously seed, having to do with a seed, direct current. So it helped me like directing current because it's different than alternating current because it's direct. So this also has to do, I think, with Adam's rib because the rib is like a wall, right? So with the vibration, just like the C and the D, the only difference is that rib with the D, or a whole lot of shit. Well, like seeds that sprout need light and they need the earth. I mean, there's a whole lot of cryptic stuff going on there. Well, we know that this has an abracadabra event because it's in all the money and stuff like that. This shit's really deep. Back to my notes here, my thoughts. So when we get to the creation, look at fish. Because Abraham like starts with Noah, right? I was thinking about Noah Webster. I took a screenshot. Like who was before Noah? So it says Nahor began 29, begat Terah, begat Abram, and Abraham, part of Chaldea, was 70 years. These accounted are 422 years and 10 days. So that's symbolic, the 422 and 10. So I'm like, holy shit, that's 432. So we're dealing with 432 hertz, which is the cross. And so time has to do with tying the M, which is the wave of pulsation. So anyway, when you look at captain of a ship, captain is like a captain. So we're also dealing with like the sleep. We're dealing with this like rapid eye movement thing going on. And this is kind of like how we use reading. We go left, right, left, right, left, right, and how we scan. It's like a scanning process. Which scan, we also have ox and that ox. So all this ox, what does this mean? I mean, this is like electric. This is energy that's maybe it's like mental energy tied into, literally tied into meaning. which we say a lion has a mane. I think, why is it a goatee? Why is it a goatee when it's like a triangle? And like when you say that goatee, it's like goat, right? It's like goat. And why did all the philosophers wear togas? And you look at all this stuff. When we look at Merlin, damn, we also see that as Rem with Mer. Damn, L, and then the I can be look like that, and then the N. And that's almost like 9/11 too. That's crazy. Just a different way of seeing 9/11. Because the L and the I can be written like that too, right? And then the N can be a 9. Different ways of looking at that. I mean, I'm doing more reaching than preaching on this one, but you know, that's what it's about. See what we can connect, because the frequency connections are real, but then it's also like what pops out, what speaks. Just like the Queen. You know, Queen sounds like W as well. We're doing reflection and dealing like man and woman. And we know that we also have that compass sign. So when we see that too, we're also dealing with wings. And just like the seesaw, dealing with the language. See how the A is at the middle? See how that's like a K too? Shit, man. That's like a K. So we're dealing with movement and pausing, because 1 is stagnation, 2 is movement, just like the ace is 1 or 11. But also it has to do with this like rib, this vibration, because the A is like this. But the first A, I think, was the Aleph. Aleph, it's called like left like that, like a wedge, which came like this, almost like the N and the Z. Oh, this shit's deep. Fuck. Which this is really deep too, because I just noticed that the original A was sideways and it got turned upside down. And that just makes me think the center is the N, and that got flipped to a Z on the other side. What would you say? All right, I'm trying to read your chat here. A left. Mm-hmm. And we're also given like cartoons like Alf, and we know that fall is an Alf. Oh, this is, you know what, there's another shit. Like, I think too, like when I was a kid, I didn't think things like chitty chitty bang bang or a play on shitty, like for a shitty car. Chitty chitty is really a play on shitty shitty. But like, I wonder how many adults even got that, like, because we know that there's play on sounds and spelling and things like that, and spelling bees. So the first spelling bee came from Noah Webster, right? And it was called the Blue Book or something like that. So we're dealing with that B, we're dealing with blue, right? But we're also dealing with reading, and reading has to do with red. So we have this blue and red, so frequency thing going on. Babar the elephant is the Abra. Okay, that's cool. I have to look into that one. So getting into that H, this shit is really freaking deep, okay? So we look at the Aleph, keep it in touch. So I'm looking at this concert I was in, I was at. So we look at corn, that's also like corner too. You can see how it's corner with a chain. And I think Alice in Chain is AIC, which is ace. That's another way of saying ace as well, right? Alice in Chains, how we just saw Alice in Wonderland. And so when I'm thinking about how the Ankh is from a place in Africa called Tayet, tying yet, what's yet to happen, not only that, before I'm looking at grains, I'm like, before wheat was hybrid, came from Kamut, so Kamut came from Kemet. I'm like, okay, was it meant to be that way? Does it line up? I don't even stress it because shit just lines up. Um, like when you look at things like an envelope, and we look at the N and the M at the center of the alphabet, and we look at a deck of cards, and it's also like a house, right? And then when you deal with a roof, you're dealing with a roof and you're dealing with a floor, you're just dealing with that L. So the L that fell, and we're also dealing with feeling too, because we're dealing with the movement of energy. We're dealing with a heartbeat. We're dealing with breath. So we're also dealing with breath of O2. We're also dealing with that OZ. We're dealing with that weight. Wow. And then we're dealing with so the balance, we're dealing with that ball, and we're dealing with that lance, dealing with balance. So when we look at like the 1 and the 0 at the center, like LMNO, we see the ball and the lance, and we think about Sir Lance-a-Lot. So Sir is also dealing with surge. And the GE is also edge, dealing with Jesus. Really edge. Also dealing with 5, we're dealing with that fire. Because the edge, we've got 5 fingers, we're a 5-fingered being. But there's all this play on stuff too. Like the F obviously has to do with 6 and left. Maybe because 9 is the high. There's a whole lot of symbolic shit there too to get into. You know, it's a program. It's a program of frequencies that just it opens up like floodgates. Sir is rising backwards. Yeah. Serpent, circle pent. Just like the 5 is the fire. It's also the hook with the circle and the line. So, damn. We surf. So we surf the surface. The surface. And we have emphasis, like M faces, face. Face has the ace is the only card that doesn't have a face. It's interesting because when you look at the 6, when you look at the triangles too, split with the A and the M, like that, it's, I don't know, is that like split? I don't know. Ace is the only card that doesn't have a face. Shit's really deep. You can kind of see like make, you know, because the C in the case, kind of interchangeable. Damn. So, also when we look at write, like we write with a pen, just dealing with this abracadabra. So the 9/11 shit, I'm gonna get into this too with the 9/11 because we got the. This shit is so fucking deep, right? So that's where we can see the apple obviously is abra, and they get into it. It's like speaking, right? So speaking is spoke. So notes we know is stone. Notes and tones. And we know that the K can be quiet with like quiet, and then we have now. And we also see the 1. A is the 1, 2. Damn, this shit's crazy. Well, we got equals. Equals is sequel. Equals is also sequel. It's like movement, right? We got equals, we got sequels. And it's crazy. Shit gets deep. Just like when we calculate, so cal, we're dealing with degrees. We could look at UL8, 6/8, fate, whole lot of things we could look at right there, right? But we could also look at late, cal, Q. So, damn, we also see two magnets with that CU, and we also see the cube, right? And then we see late. We see late. As we calculate, it's like we're catching up, right? We're doing math on something. Hang on, let me check my messages. Yeah, Facebook. Oh shit, thank you. So now, when we say ankles, ankh is also can. Like a can is also a case. So we look at like encasing stuff here. I'm gonna erase this right now, right? Because it's dealing with vibrations. So we say Wonka is like Noah to know A and Wonka. So chocolate fact, Charlie in the chocolate factory, CC, we're doing energy with that currents. And we know this is also like a magnet too. It's also written like a magnet. She gets fucking deep. Split C, Moses split the C. I mean, she gets really fucking deep. But we also looked at it as Moses, M-O-Z. So if we split the N sideways too, we see Moses like that right there. So Mos, M-O says, it's the same shit. M-O's method of operation, Z can be pronounced like a S. It shit gets really deep. So, but we also could look at that as the one, and A could be this split one, right? Because we're dealing with that pause symbol, right? And it's interesting. So this gets me, this is really deep, because just like the T and the A, the T and the K, oh my God, I'm decoding this shit. We get with Jesus with the legs open and the legs closed. So that also gets me into thinking, to action, thought and action. And she gets really fucking deep. But when you look at tick-tock, like tic-tac-toe, we know tic-tac-toe. Toe, we know we're towing. Tic-tac-toe. Tack is also talk. We could say talk, like talk. And then we go tick. So dealing with that 9 and the 6. A lot of ways of looking at that. But I see this as a ripple effect. When I look at this, when I look at that, I also see like ripple effect. Because talking is like we're putting energy out. And what's the tick I see like a shifting gears, almost like different ways of looking at that. Because when we see that could also be seen as a tire. Like when we move to the right of MN, like that movement, we see that to the right. We can see right, scramble that. We also see tire, because tire is on a wheel. When we go right, different ways of looking at that one. And we know that when you light a candle, you use like a match, we match. And when you put the L to the R, we get light. And we also have to write is almost, I see the W as a reflection, like having to do with thought, like almost like matter, like putting water to matter, with like, different ways of looking at that. We're putting thought into writing with a pen, which is ink. So we sync letters, we sing, the sounds we make we sing. What sinks in. So say we're born in sin, and like sin is shine, too, we shine. And then co is the other one, which we're dealing with colors, we're dealing with codes, symbiotics. You know, if you know how to use the gear shift, it's simple because you can make the N to M. Like when you see the symbiotics, different ways of looking at this. But we see shine, color. You know, how do we decode these things? In the, you know, DC, we know we're dealing with the devil and and Christ, a whole lot of stuff. But see how the pattern shifts, just like the legs open, the legs closed, like nailed to the cross. So when we look at like Oannes, like Jesus is the fish, and Oannes was the first fish god. And we look at this, we can see an S, it turned S, and we can see the letter O. So we can see an O and an S, and then we can see a nail, like that's through the cross. Different ways we can see the yin yang. And we know that yin yang could also be like AI, which also could be pronounced A, just like AE, which was Oannes. So Oannes was also known as A. And I see these two vowels. We can see vowel, we can see love, like the W as having to do with V, like a heartbeat, and vowels. And that also has to do with open leg, closed leg, also like male and female. Also FM, Freemason, whatever. You could see the FM on top. It's the higher radio signal or whatever. And then AM, you wake up in the morning. There's a whole lot of stuff to that too. A whole lot of similar to waking up and down, wake up and sleeping, with the N being now and the sleeping with the Z. Just look at how the A was flipped too, the greater than or less than symbol. Shit is so deep. That looks like a springboard too. So when we look at it, so talk is also cot, like, where we sleep on a cot. So let me get into this. So like a clock. We see the constant current, right, in the clock, but we also see that, like we see a wall in the clock, like the ticker. Damn, that shit's different. That's just crazy. Because if we put that together, we also see cold. We see cold. Damn, I gotta think about that one. It just popped out. But like with the A and the 1 and the T and the K. Oh, other way. Just like when we talk, we also listen. Keep going. Let's see my messages. Oh, sir, rise. Oh, we got Iris too, doing the eyes. Made me think of Facebook. Oh, thank you. I forgot what I was saying. Okay. OS, original sin. iOS has it too. Yeah, but you know what? Also, Facebook is two bowl cane, so two poles. Bowl is pole. Flip the B, because we're dealing with a musical note when we get to B, because we're dealing with movement. So immediately, looks like a musical note, and you can flip that to B, P, 9. Below is the B, the 9 is the high. We're dealing with sound, and also dealing with a comma, dealing with coma, like dealing with pause, a whole lot of shit. Hang on. So we see the two bolts. The cane is also the nail through the cross, and the two two poles or the two bowls, we're dealing with a yin yang, which was originally the Taiji, which was one symbol. You'll see it on like heating and air conditioning places. So I'll get into some of my notes here. So we look at what we're dealing with angles, right? So we're dealing with G and energy lane. So we're dealing with like movement of angles. So we look at watt. We also looked at as watt equals 7. Put that on here. Fractals of crafts of AI or AL, where we also see that same symbol of the open leg and closed leg. So this also makes me think of the roof and the floor, right? But it also gets me into the split 8 and a whole lot of shit. Because when we get into that triangle, it's also getting into like the pool ball. Because like 2 bull cane, the pulls, dealing with pulse, push and pull. Shit gets deep too when you can use that to kind of like decode stuff. Because we know like Lucifer is the LU cipher, right? Because all the different terms mean different things. But the LU is also that 5 kind of split, right? But we see the 33, which is the 6. Oh, it's really crazy that it gets into the 2 triangles and a whole lot of shit. But here's the thing, okay? G equals 7, right? If you break down 6, which is SIX, that breaks down to 7. So we see, when you look at the capital G and the 6, we see that kind of same symbol, right? We see that same symbol. So we have the symbiotics with 6 and 7, like this, and some different symbols too. But it is symbols that like chime, like what rings a bell. And we say below, where below O is flipped into O. It's just crazy. They say oh to oh my God. GMO. That's mother goddess. Oh, the mother goddess. So many different ways of looking at that. So many different ways of looking at that. Let me think what I was saying. Okay, so when we look at wings, we also see swing. About this. So when we look at wings, we see the word swing. It's crazy that Jesus was during the Ming Dynasty. Crazy, man. Do something better here. All right, I've been going for a minute. Kind of losing steam. I might pick this up later. I want to get back into the 9/11. Lucifer, Abba. So I has to do with open. We also see like kind of like the Pac-Man thing in there too. But let me get into this. My notes in the background. Damn, I forgot about that. Check this. So with creation, when you look at the embryo, the human body takes on, first it resembles a fish, and it has to go into like an underwater creature because we're in an embryo. And you look at the alphabet. So this also gets into like Jonah and the whale. which also has to do like joining the A. When you look at the keyhole, it's that same symbiotics. So when we look at the K having to do with the key, we also look at like a donkey chasing a tail, but we also look dawn when it dawns upon you, dealing with something, sparks something. That's also the key. We see a play on words like donkey, pin the tail on the donkey. And so also when we deal with tails, we're also dealing kind of like Tesla. Whole lot of crap there. So, but when we look at the wheel, when we look at the whale, that's also dealing with the wheel. We're also dealing with the hole. See that right there. So also when we get into September 11th, it's all stuff on Samson and Delilah, because that was in the Nineveh. The city was before the Nineveh, if you can look it up. They give you the story of Jonah, but also Samson and Delilah. It was before the Nineveh. They brought down the towers. And you see 9 and 11 in Nineveh. And the crazy thing is, that was the center of city of World Trade. And when you look at NYC, you see Sin, CYN. And then when you look at Delilah, we see the two L's as the two towers in the 11. And then we see the word idea, right? Idea. And Samson, we know we got Mason and Samson. And dealing with an idea. But what's crazy is the symbiotics having to do with the Nineveh. When you look up the story, it's like, damn. And then you see like New York is also sin. Shit is really deep. So I got more on that on my Sweat It Is Insta with the symbols. So also building 7 is real hidden meanings behind building 7 too. And 7 equals 11, and we're also dealing with this Eve. It's interesting to see on the eve of destruction, or whatever. So a lot of cryptic shit. So getting messages. Abba. I mean, with the BB, I see a square there. Cause I see like 2. I see like a square, and I see the 2 A's, a square in between the 2. Dude, I don't really know what that means, but some kind of pillar symbolism in that one. Think has him in the middle. If we use the MN as a decode, that is really deep. It does. You know what, too? Think also had think. Now I'm back at it. I think about. Shit, I hope I didn't forget. I may have forgot. Hang on. Let me get back to it. That was deep. So I said think. Think also has. Oh, yeah, I just remembered. So you look at think. Not only can you look at that as him, with the M and the N being symbiotic, right? But you also look at Finn. This makes me think of movies like Thinner and stuff like that. When we look at Finn K, the reason I look at it like this, so many different ways, right? Oh man, this is getting me back on shit I was forgetting. So when you look at the thin K, just like 11, just like the ace is the high number and the low number, it's also the 1. Damn, that's crazy. So that's just talking to me through the language of letters, right? So if you say thin K, this thinning the pause, because K is the 11th letter too. So many different ways of looking at that. But when you look at the upside down pause symbol too, that makes me think of the towers taken down. But shit gets deep too. When you look at all the stuff you were saying, Louisa V, about the Queen and 9/11, crazy symbology there with her funeral on the 19th. Damn. Check my messages with the thin K. Mirrors 1221. Yep. Oh, with the mirror. So now we get into the mirror, talking about the Queen. That we're talking about rising and falling of the Queen and stuff. So what I see hidden in that is just like the ace has no face. The Queen is kind of hidden in the. Damn, we're back. That's crazy. So back to the symbolism I started with. We know that the M and the N together, we're dealing with this. I see a lot of stuff for reflection, folding, increasing. Deflection, folding, increasing. Deflection, folding, increasing. Connecting. Alright, that was weird. 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 Connecting. Alright, that was weird.